Hey, thanks for clicking in. This is a conversation with me and a old friend Lee, who is a physical therapist with a decade of experience coming out of California. He's got a large patient base, mostly of the elderly, and he's got a keen interest in sports medicine, and that is a conversation you will hear. Thank you. Here we are,
Fun.
Mr. Lee Eck, number two, and we're rolling.
Hugh, it's good to be here. Thank you very much for having me. Okay.
Brother, I don't know where to start. I feel like we can bounce around left and right and up and down.
See, this is
And
why we gotta plan and prep and everything.
I gotta say, of how well I've known you and all the years I've known you, you managed to always execute at high level. And what always shocks me is how little you're prepared to do that.
Uh, that's a very nice way of saying I fly by the seat of my pants, man.
It's
Um,
working. It's working.
I got it. It's at least gotten me this far, and I really appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this podcast, man. I know you've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
Eh,
It's this is an Amazon thing that I learned. I hate to say corporate speak has influenced my personal life, but it has. So there's this concept at Amazon that they teach, which is working backwards. And I thought,
mhm.
what career do I want? Like if Bitcoin hits 2 million, um, I'm not gonna just like quit to my manager and scream out the Dave Chappelle, I'm rich, bitch. Like I'm not gonna do that. But
But
I do think it would be hard for me to say I will continue working for you for so long with that much money in the bank. And so I was thinking, okay, well, how do you act, like forget that. What would you do if you had that? And there's only like so many months you could do of nothing with your life, and just delve into hedonism before you get bored. And I realized a cool career would be to just like read books, but then that gets a little bit lonely and isolating. What if you could read books and talk to the people who write those books? I thought that would be interesting. And then I already know interesting people, so why wait to get that started? Which brings me to you, Mr. Lee Yek. So really,
you
I'm
gotta
just happy to
start meeting
talk
more
with you.
interesting people.
I
Yeah,
I don't
man.
know, man. I mean, honestly, I'm just happy to chat with you. Uh, and if we can make a career out of it, that's even better. But let
I
me
think
jump
that's
into something that could be useful to someone who has never met you, who has never met me, who may not even be able to pronounce our names. And look, that's cool too. But you, sir, have always been the person who, whenever we get injured, will come and try to fix us up. And now
yeah,
you made a career out of it, and a good one.
appreciate that. Yeah, man. Um, I guess because this is an audience, we have an audience. I'm a physical therapist. I started in my own company a couple of years ago, and we're steadily growing. It's a physical therapy, uh, outpatient private practice.
Mm.
It's a blast, man. I thought it was interesting that of all the things you would have started with, you started with working backwards. If you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing? Um, I hate to say it, I'd still be doing this. This is a fucking blast. Okay. Oh, hang on.
I
Is this a PG-13?
No, this is. I mean, real conversations are not PG-13. Like I can only imagine the way you talk to your patients. So we should talk about your patients a little bit because I have a tremendous amount of respect for your patients, and I didn't know which direction you would have gone. To be honest, I thought you would have gone into sports medicine,
Mhm.
because I know you like hitting things. You like hitting things. You
Oh
like
my
hitting things,
God,
but
yeah.
you're the most peaceful person I've met in my entire life, which is a common thing when it comes to like the martial artists that step into a
Mhm.
ring and really hurt someone are at the same time the most peaceful people you've heard of. Oh well, it goes both ways. But like we'll take GSP as an example. The dude is you ever listen to the guy speak and he's the most gentle person in the world, but he's like
S-
in a population of 8 billion people, um, he can absolutely destroy a threat from 7.99999 billion people, right? and the
For sure.
guy's that's so gentle.
I actually was just watching a video of him explaining how you can cheat your way into a knee from the clinch. Um, I thought it was hilarious that you brought that up because he really is a very kind and gentle person. He talks about the way that a martial artist should live.
Mhm.
Um, and then he goes straight into a seminar like, you got to watch out. So what you can do is you can grab the glove here and force them to pull away from you, but you have to make sure the ref isn't watching. Like, oh my God, what happened, man? What happened to the Warrior's Way and everything? Yeah, the Warrior's Way, but as long as the ref isn't watching.
Yeah, yeah. The gentle giant, right? I mean, like the same guy who
Oh,
says, "Oh, I love MMA. I just hate the part where you actually beat someone up in a ring." And now he's like, "Oh, by the way, if you want to fight dirty, this is what you got to do. You know,
just
you got to
grab
catch
the
the
glove.
ref off guard. You got to get your coach to yell at the ref, be like, "Oh, he dropped the mouthpiece." Next thing you know, knee to the jaw, and it's over. But GSP, brother, GSP. There was a day I used to train jujitsu, right? And you trained
Yeah,
boxing,
yeah.
you did wrestling. I thought it was interesting because I was already too old to be honest. I was post 30, but I
Oh
had the
man.
dream that I would train with like
Mhm.
GSP and like McGregor and those kind of guys. And now it's just like, well, you get injured enough times when you're past 30, starting a new sport, and you realize what it takes.
Yeah,
But
I
still a
got a few
beautiful
of those
sport.
guys right now. Still a beautiful sport. I
Still.
think, if anything, Hugh, the interesting thing is you always have. I've never seen you held back by any sort of practical limits. You always set your ambitions as high as you can.
Mm,
This podcast was one of them, but you started jujitsu and you thought, man, I'll end up with GSP.
yeah.
Fuck yeah. Um,
Uh,
I do have a lot
you
of
can
jujitsu
call
guys.
me delusional. That's another way you could put it. And
Little column A, little column B. Um,
speak. Go ahead.
no, I think it's interesting we talk about injury in sports because I do have those guys. Uh, right now, I have a guy who has blown through two ACLs,
Hmm,
trying to get his way back into fairly high level, not fairly, middle level jujitsu. He's somewhere upper blue, lower purple,
hmm,
looking to compete, but he's a middle-aged father who trains seriously, but he trains as a hobby, right?
hmm,
Versus a professional fighter would be there uh, doing almost nothing but training and
hmm.
press and all the other stuff they do in the background.
Yeah.
Um, in that scope of things, if whether you intend to take it seriously and professionally or just as a hobby, I'd really much rather hear people out there hurting themselves doing jujitsu, for example, than, fucking wasting away on the couch, man.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't want to say go hurt yourself, Hugh, but I hope you're still training at least a little bit here and there.
No, in my case, it's been about I think 3, maybe even 4 years since I've trained. For me, it was a knee injury that got me too bad. Where I didn't even want to risk an ACL tear. So I switched. I was doing weight training for a while. Well, I'm still doing weight training. I was doing bands for about 2.5 years. And they were pretty good, but there was a couple things that I never really rounded out. One was I never really cleaned up my macros and my diet.
Yeah.
But in the last few months, I've been looking at that. I've also been doing more weightlifting instead of bands, so it's still strength training. It's a slow, long process of sculpting, but yeah, I'm kind of curious about ACL injuries though. Well, first of all, hats off to this gentleman who's back training, who's got kids, and who knows, maybe he'll throw his kids in there as well. Um, but man, what do you recommend for ACL tears? Or I don't even know if tear is the right word. Because I've heard. Here's the crazy thing: the ACL injury
Mhm.
has been around for like as long as professional sports. And
A
I would
long, long
venture
time.
to
Yeah.
guess at least 2 to 3 decades has been a serious like point of research and medicine, especially in sports. But till this day, my understanding is that how to heal it best is controversial. And I don't know, controversial isn't the right word, but there's debate as to say, like, what is the best way to get your ACL up and running so you can, return to a high level. And some athletes have done it. I don't even know if they all did it in the same way. I'm convinced it's doable. Um, but how? How do you do it?
Man, it's kind of funny because speaking of ACLs, Lindsey Vaughn is the big name that's currently circulating. Lindsey Vaughn was coming up on 40 when she posted some very impressive times for downhill skiing for the Winter Olympics. The week before she competed, she tore her ACL. Uh, and she said to the world, I can still do it. I'm still going to compete. Um, it's still a very present, very common issue. If you haven't torn your ACL, you undoubtedly know somebody who has. Um, it's pretty common. Let's start with this. An ACL is a really cool thing because it really fucking helps. It helps you pivot and turn. It keeps you safe. It gives you something called proprioceptive feedback, so you know where your feet are at all times.
Mm.
But
Wait,
we
so,
don't
so
actually.
it's
Mhm.
partially a nerve, is what you're saying. Like it's not just a tendon. It
Yeah,
regulates like how your brain interprets your position.
yeah. It's a ligament that sits in the middle of your knee, but there are little nerves that feed back from from that ligament that you kind of take for granted. You don't
Mm.
realize it till it's gone. And then you try to do, for example, you plant a foot and you turn to shift and your knee doesn't feel stable. It doesn't necessarily buckle, although if you don't have an ACL and you do it hard enough, it'll totally give out on you.
Mm.
Um, but it does give you this neat little bit of feedback. But you can theoretically go through life without one. It helps you pivot and shift and be athletic and have great agility. But you don't need that to walk and to go up and down stairs, and even for most hiking.
Hmm.
It's
S-
kind of a
s-
neat thing. Mhm.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I mean, I kind of had this. Maybe it's because I've seen some pictures of like what ACL tear is, and they exaggerate it. But I kind of made this assumption that like when your ACL tears, you lose sort of the connection between the bone that covers your quads and the bone that covers your calves. Which essentially, like without that connection, you just have extremely limited mobility. But then I hear some crazy stories about people who are like, yeah, I tore my ACL, and then 6 months later, I was back to whatever, back to hiking or whatever they were doing. And like I never
Uh,
really understood how they do it, and I've never understood what is the most consistent way to do that regularly. Like if you have like this patient, like
yep.
what did you recommend he do to to fix both?
um,
Both.
oh man, for him, it's a question of really strengthening up his knee. And remember, we were talking about it has nerve feedback for proprioception, which
Mhm.
allows him to tell where his knee is in space. If he doesn't have that ligament, he really needs to work on some high level coordination and balance using things like a Bosu ball, which is imagine like a half of a ball. You just cut it in half and it's wiggly on top. Can you stand on that on one leg and do a squat? Can
Mhm.
you do deadlifts on it? All sorts of wild stuff. So
Do
you
that
build
without an
around.
ACL injury. Like that does not sound easy, man.
It's not,
you are having your patients shoot for some high level athleticism.
yeah, it's not my knee, man. I actually have had an ACL reconstruction. So I've done this too. And if you want to compete in a high agility sport, and I'd say jiu-jitsu counts as pretty high agility in its own way. Um, yeah, you really need that strength. Like this guy could not do a pistol squat, which is a really important thing to do for a technical stand-up,
Mm.
which is where you'd need to get your leg underneath you and effectively be able to stand up on one leg.
Mhm.
So it's interesting the way that your body will compensate and work around the complete absence of a ligament.
Mhm.
That's part of what had happened to him. So yeah, he's up there, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that he's going at it. Like so you're a physical therapist. You've been doing this for a long time. I've gone to physical therapy. I think twice I've gone, but I became a
Mhm.
believer very, very early. I mean, I obviously the first thing I did when I learned about PT was completely ignore the advice, right? Because the whole
Fuck yeah,
concept of PT,
man.
and you correct me if I'm wrong
Yeah.
here. The whole concept of PT is that you need to strengthen your muscles around your joints and your ligaments to support it. And your posture and your form are far more important than everything else, which will fall into place if you have proper muscular strength and you use them correctly. Is that a general statement that you would agree with?
It's not entirely what physical therapy is about, but it is a core strategy that we use in, especially in instances where you are going to have to compensate for something. In this
Mm-hmm.
case, if you've blown through an ACL and you've elected not to do the surgery, your ACL is not going to regrow, man. So yeah, you do have to strengthen and stabilize and get flexible all around that.
Wait, so when you hear about stories who like I hope I get the right person on this. I want to say Aaron Rodgers, who I believe it was him, tore an ACL, came back and was still like he managed a good post ACL injury career. I don't know if he was 100%, but I think he got like 90-95% of where he was at. And I'm misquoting the quarterback here, or
Uh,
miss or I'm calling out the wrong one.
there's so many quarterbacks. Did he have the surgery or no?
I don't remember what he did. I think he went through a process of like alternative medicines. He was a
Mhm.
Green Bay Packers quarterback, and I mean this was
Yeah,
some
yeah,
years
yeah.
ago, so I'm pretty sure he's retired by now.
Man,
But I mean,
that is
not him
mm,
specifically, but in general, like when you do hear about someone who gets an ACL tear and they come back at a top level and they're operating at that elite level, close if not at or even beyond where they were. What are your thoughts on how they did that? Like it's just a miracle.
uh, yeah, mostly just miracles,
Fair enough.
baby, left, right, and center. Uh, you have to. I guess the first thing I would say is we do have to be really careful when we see people like Aaron Rodgers, people like Steph Curry. Um, a lot of things are different. It may not look like it, but I'm not actually an elite athlete. If you put me and Steph Curry side by side, we look very similar. There are some slight, subtle differences. And so when you get to the level of an elite athlete, you've been training your whole life. Your baseline is going to be so far beyond what normal
Mm.
people like me would be experiencing. When I hear about stuff like that, I'd say that there are still certain statistics that are going to apply at the elite level.
Uh-huh.
The situation is different, but the statistics still apply. If you can do it without the ACL, I am happy for you ultimately. I'm a little worried about the long-term health of your knee, but ultimately, if you can perform, go get it, man.
Hmm. Yeah, man. But the life of an athlete is so interesting because they've got a handful of years, maybe a decade of income, right? Like
Oh yeah.
post career. I think it's a tough life. It's a tough life. So if you're like, okay, well, I got to sacrifice my knee, but then I never have to work again, and what goes on through your head as you make that trade off? It's probably a completely different story than a hobbyist who's like, you know what, I really like my knees. I
Yeah, man.
I want to have a long, healthy life, but I'm never
Mhm.
gonna, I won't make money out of this. So it's just a side project that I enjoy to be able to participate in particular things. But I can imagine a lot of people will say, hey, you know what, I do enjoy going out for a lovely walk, even especially in old age. Where they're like, hey, I just want to get some nature. I want to see the birds. I want to smell the roses. Feel the trees, all that stuff. So it's a
To you,
different. Yeah, it sounds like it's a different ball game.
to your point, man, you walked away from jujitsu because of the recurrence of injury. Um, my encouragement is that people stay active, and that
Mhm,
if the choice is between staying active and being injured from time to time, or doing nothing at all, is to stay active. If you can be active and not hurt yourself, do that. As far as athletes go, man, I have so many different thoughts about this. But the first one would be you're absolutely right. It's a financial decision for them. Um, and it's pretty heartbreaking because the ones we hear about these financial decisions are the ones who made it to the point where it's actually a financial decision. An overwhelming percentage of athletes are never going to make it to collegiate level, even, let alone a place where it's going to be a meaningful part of their long-term financial life. Which is to
mhm,
say, most of them are gonna break their bodies by the time they're 20-ish and never see a cent for it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. The other part of it, though, is that part of being at that elite level to make it to professional is to have that insane mindset that there is no backup option. There's no failure. Not to go too much back to martial arts and everything, but Daniel Cormier
Hmm.
cries every time he loses. Granted, he's a commentator now, but it's so emotionally invested for him. He cannot imagine the prospect of not winning. He hates losing. He
Yeah.
needs to win. I don't have that, man. I don't like losing, but I can walk away, man. If you put me in a marathon, I get to like 3 miles, 4 miles. I'm okay. I'll tap out. I'm
Yeah.
not that special.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I've never had anything close to livelihood or even my pride involved in involved in a sports competition. You and I both wrestled in high school. I very much enjoyed that. I saw myself develop a lot, and like I remember getting third place in a competition, and I was stoked. I went to my coach and I was like, third place, you know. But I mean, I was coming from like trash, you know, like from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
first day I stepped on the mat, I was just flailing all over the place. I was getting pinned by the person who's half my weight, you know what I mean? And so for me
yeah,
to
yeah.
get third place at a competition, I was stoked. I was so
Fuck
happy,
yeah, man.
you know? But it's a whole different, you know, it's a different thing to like perform at that elite level. Where you're just you're climbing up the rankings. I mean, you see this in I think you really see this on one-on-one sports. I've always been more interested in one-on-one sports than team sports. You could call it ego or whatever, but there's definitely this sort of mental portion where it's you completely own the victory, but you also completely own the losses. But then you also see like the pecking order in a training gym, right? Like you're like, okay, I'm here. If you lined all of us up together, this guy's here, this guy's here, this guy's here, you know, and then you kind of place yourself there, and you start off most people at the very beginning. There's a few like people who are just athletically inclined from the beginning and they climb their way up very quickly. But it's you know when you're standing in that pecking order for one-on-one sport is very humbling, but it's also very rewarding when you do take home a victory. And I could never really get around that. Like I have a ton of respect for any athlete, but there's definitely for me there's something special about say something like MMA or tennis or you know even golf, right? It's like you're playing multiple people, but it's still you against a group, and there's no one you can blame your wins or losses on.
You remember went to school in San Diego. There was the football team was the San Diego Chargers. LA, I'm
Mm,
watching. We had our quarterback was Philip Rivers,
mm.
arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And still, the team lost every goddamn time. And like the classy thing to do would be to step back and be like, hey, you know what? We win as a team, we lose as a team, blah, 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 blah. Philip Rivers would step and be like, I carry this team. I threw the most amazing passes. This team fucking sucks. My teammates are fucking shit. This is bullshit. It is not that he was wrong. If there was such a dick about it. Yeah.
And now they're not
Anyway,
in San Diego anymore.
now they're not even
They
in
just
San
got
Diego
rid of the.
anymore.
They're like, fuck it, we don't forget Philip Rivers. We don't need this team inside of our city. This
Get him
is
the
just
fuck out of here.
downhill. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
How did he do? I don't remember his career. Did he move on to a different team? Maybe come
no, he
across better.
maybe he did, but he ultimately retired very shortly thereafter,
Mm,
with an incredible passing percentage, blah blah blah, and a team that
mhm,
just could not pull it across the end zone.
mm.
I think if you could sit down with Phil Rivers, he would say that's goddamn right. Because I worked my ass off these motherfuckers.
I would love to
Ah,
talk to Philip. If I could get Philip Rivers and talk to him about like I would happily go through his games and like listen to his his mentality on that, because that's first of all, it's just fucking hilarious. It's just like, you know what? Some people say the buck stops with me, and Philip Rivers was just like that lineman, couldn't
Keep
stop
it
a fly. It couldn't like stop a slug that was just crawling across to catch me.
going.
Or like I have to put super glue on the hands of my receiver so they can actually catch something. So it's
Yeah.
a team sports, man. It's a whole different ballgame. What's interesting is like, in a one-on-one sport, your competition is your competition. That's it. It's just the people in front of
Hmm.
you that you want to defeat. But when it's a team sport, it's like you got to handle the egos of all of your teammates. You gotta be able to navigate that. Like I've
Yeah.
highly got on my list to watch this 10-part series with Michael Jordan, where it's called The Last Dance. And I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it, but I do got to watch it. But I hear a lot of commentary on it from friends, and they all kind of say the same thing. Like, this is what they say, and I wish I could watch it so I can stand behind these words. But they say Jordan
Mm.
was an absolute asshole to work with. Like
Yeah.
he overtook the team. He overshadowed everybody else, and he also had. I mean, he had phenomenal teammates, right? He had like what Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. Who I mean, Rodman clearly had his uh, ego out. He was not shy at
Hmm.
all about being who he was, and somehow Jordan was still able to lead that team. I think the stories became a little bit more clear when he was coaching. He was coaching the Wizards, and I think
Hmm.
the stories that came out of that were a little bit more like it's just it's hard to fall under this guy as great as he is as a player, but that sort of talent where you can carry a team like that is that's a special thing. That's once in a generation thing.
That's a whole sort of thing that I wish I actually grew up same thing, man. I much more preferred one-on-one sports, although you can't tell from my massive frame in the camera. I'm actually not that tall, um, and my arms are pretty short. My legs are pretty short, right? So I
You have
gravitated
very
towards
good
one-on-one
motor
thing.
skills from every sport you have attended to, or I've seen you compete at, or play at, or even like as a hobbyist. I've always been impressed with how okay, the way you think about something is very interesting because, like many things, especially, and I think this is what I love about sports is that it's is a big part of it is your muscular is your body, your muscle memory, the way your body is able to adapt to these different scenarios. But there's also a cerebral component to it. And
There
you,
is.
sir, take a very heavy approach at any sport in both ways. Like, you're not afraid to put in the repetitions and try a lot of different things to like figure out what works, but you're very cerebral about it. You're like, why does this work? You're not just like, okay, if I
Mm.
throw this punch, this is
Mhm.
the right way to throw a punch so I can gain power. You're like, huh, how is it that when I place my foot a little bit in front or a little bit back or a little bit to the
Mhm.
right, or if I twist my ankle just a little bit, I can get a little bit more flexion. And like you've taught me everything I know about boxing, which to be fair is almost nil. But nonetheless,
That's good because
you did teach
I
me some
also
stuff
know
in a
nothing.
clinch, which was pretty cool. And a lot of it
Uh,
was like, okay, like this is what you want to watch for. These are all the tricks that will come in if you're not prepared, and like this is how you want to protect yourself because you're probably gonna miss the block. So, but
um, no, I think it's important to be that. That's a separate thing. Man, this is a lot of stuff to jump off of here. I appreciate you saying that, man. I like to think that that's because I'm such a cerebral man. Really, it's because I can't help but think about it. I'm pretty obsessive about certain select little things. So I love figuring out the little bits of strategy that come with it. There's a book by Orson Scott Card, Ender's Game, and
hmm.
in the book, the star is Ender, and he basically has to lead his team to victory playing this sci-fi space game. And the way he basically does this is he tries silly stuff. He gets taught things by his older teammates and commanders, uh, and he says he basically tries that. Okay, let's run that again. But when I have my little squad, we're going to run it again. But imagine that this goes wrong, or that you
Hmm.
have to do this faster. Yeah, I like it. Workshopping
Yeah,
all those neat little ideas.
yeah.
If you haven't read the book, strongly recommend Ender's Game. It's a really fast-paced read, and it's
Yeah.
a much better book than it is a movie.
Hmm. I've seen some of the
That's
clips of
all.
the movie. I was just watching Apollo 13, and there's a character in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what position he plays, and I forgot I want Gary Sinise. I think that was the actor.
Mhm.
But the character he plays, he kind of goes through that where he's like, "Listen, we got to get everything spot on, and like we need to account for all the variables, and we need to do this over, like getting the reps in." It's like
Yeah.
you gotta build an intuition for it. I love that word intuition because you have to earn intuition.
Mhm.
Like everything you get involved in. I'm gonna stick with MMA since we've been talking about it, but or wrestling. Well, even PT, right? Or me, I'm a
Yeah.
programmer. I
Yeah.
don't write code anymore. I let AI do that for me. But there was a time that I did. But you would
Mhm.
you build an intuition for like, okay, this thing is not going to work. This thing is going to fail. These are the these are the reasons that this idea or this technique won't hold up. You only know that because you failed a million times, right?
Mhm.
There's a phrase, I don't know if you ever saw anything from Scott Adams, but he wrote this like self-help book years ago. I think it was called uh, I never get the name of the thing right, but I've always interpreted it as how to fail your way to success.
Mhm.
And again, I know that's not the right title, but that was my interpretation of it always, which is like you just fail a million times for 3 or 4 successes, and then you build on those successes, and then you fail another million times, and then you
Mhm.
just you're navigating the scenario of all the failure paths, which are infinite compared to like 1 or 2 success paths.
Uh, Iterative improvement.
Iterative
Absolutely, man.
improvement. Iterative improvement. All right, man. So I do have some questions for you. And the first one is, and we kept circling around this one, but your patient base is generally your patients are a little bit older, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
why I have a ton of respect for them because they're like the age of our grandmothers or older mothers and fathers, and
Mhm.
they said, "Hey, listen, we whether a doctor prescribed it to them or what, they said, listen, we got to take some initiative to increase our mobility." And there's a lot of things about this that I think we think about. Like once you hit middle age and your parents' age, it becomes a little bit more important to what you see. And like I've read and I've heard a lot of things, and I'll double check with AI. And there's a few things that I found that indicate an older person's overall health. One is their leg strength. So apparently their leg
Okay.
strength is highly correlated with their longevity. And I mean, it makes sense in a lot of ways. You could talk about causation and correlation, but I believe that correlation is quite high. And this could be something as simple as like,
Mhm.
can an older person walk up and down the stairs without help, without pausing, without any issue? Um, so like, I mean, the quads is our leg muscles are some of the biggest muscles that we have. So if those are starting to grade, it's a sign of other things. And there's another thing that I thought is really interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, which is that apparently the best way to stave off neurodegenerative diseases
Mhm.
is through physical exercise. Call it walking, call it strength training, whatever it is. So doing little puzzles is great. Reading books is
Mhm.
great. Learning languages is great. Solving little math problems is great. But what is equal or if not better is physical exercise. And I think this has to do with a number of things like your muscles or your body releasing hormones and dopamine, hormone growth factor, all this sort of stuff is getting released in your body when you're activating your muscles, along with just like increasing your oxygen consumption and your ability to process energy. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Um, Man, exercise. Number one through number letter A through letter Z, man, exercise.
Mm.
Duh, says the physical therapist. Let's start with the first thing. Yeah, there's a huge correlation between leg strength. We found three big things: leg strength, balance, and grip strength. We
Mm.
have some guesses, but right now it's still just down to correlation. And this is what the peer-reviewed evidence tells us. We can make some hypotheses about it, but leg strength correlates to everything from walking um, to some of the more important things. You ever see those, help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Man, I remember those commercials back in the
Fuck,
day,
right?
before cell phones, before any sort of electronic tracker. Those that was a big deal. I mean, it still is, but yeah. I mean,
That's
the problem is those commercials were hilarious because they were so
they were
poorly acted.
hilarious.
They were so badly acted, and the scenarios were so weird and awkward. And like Mario Kart had just come out, and these people were slipping on bananas, and they're like, "I slipped on
Yeah,
a banana,
no,
help!"
I
And
saw it
the
and I
arms are
can't get
waving in a way that's like so completely unreal. I hate to laugh at it, but man, this is the fault of the producers for those commercials. They fucked up. Like if they wanted to say, "Hey, look, this is a serious ailment. We need to be sober about it." They shouldn't have made it so fucking hilarious, you know? Like this is an SNL skit.
That is just peak comedy. That's what I really miss 90s. Oh, we were all connected and no phones. No, what we had were the best fucking infomercials
That we did.
ever created.
Do
Someone
you remember
someone looked at it and said,
ShamWow?
"You know what? Fucking
ShamWow.
ShamWow."
Oh
Oh my
man,
god.
you're gonna love these nuts, right? Like he slaps the
Slap chop.
fucking slap
Yeah, yeah,
chop.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Fucking head on applied directly to the head. Head on applied to, oh my god, the whole series was fucking fantastic, man. And now we've
Oh
got like
man.
serious ass commercials. No, bring back that shit.
They're so boring
That
now. Yeah. No,
I don't
we
want the
need.
algorithm.
Yeah,
That's the problem. The
we need that
algorithm
old
is too
school
smart.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, that's why you need leg strength. And then tied to that is your balance so that you don't end up in that place in the first place, we think. And then grip strength, we think, correlates to just general overall levels of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
That in the act of developing grip strength, you're usually doing something active that requires you to grip and squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the expression is you don't want the tail to wag the dog. We don't know that yet, but it seems like a reasonable thing that if you work on things like grip strength and
Mm-hmm.
leg strength and balance, that those things should improve your overall
Mm.
morbidity and mortality.
So I mean, you
Mhm.
and I know this. This is a lot easier said than done. But like, it's hard to be physically active for anybody. I mean, just millions of
Mhm.
excuses anybody can make. But another problem is, um, I think it's hard to know what are the right exercises to do.
Mhm.
Like, when you talk about grip strength, like, okay, well, let's go through all of these. We'll start with legs because that's probably, as far as I understand, that's one of the, well, it's super important, right? I don't know if it's the most important, but it is super important.
It is
W-
really important.
What would you recommend somebody who's already frail do to begin their journey to do leg exercises? Like I would think stairs are good, but
Mhm.
I'm always a little bit concerned because, if you have actual physical stairs and someone is not prepared for it, then I definitely don't want to put them at risk. A stairmaster might be a better option. I don't know, or maybe walking is sufficient. I don't know.
Man, that's good place to start. My obvious plug for physical therapy is go see a physical therapist.
Yeah.
But if you're not
If
going to
you want to
start
see
there,
Lee and you're in California, I don't know if you're ready to dox yourself yet, but he is out there in the West Coast, in the best
I'm
coast,
out
some would
here,
say.
but you're going to have a local PT who's going to do 10 times better than me. What I would say is start on stairs. Stairs are a great place to start. Keep that railing nearby. And then if you can do stairs, can you do a sit down, stand up from a chair without
Mm,
using your hands?
mm,
And that can start at a high chair and go to a regular chair and even down to a lower chair, like a
mm-hmm,
toilet seat.
mm-hmm,
Hussein, if you're since switching over to weights, I'm sure you've heard of box squats. It's what you're doing is you're doing a
mm,
box squat, like a regular squat, except for instead of having just free range of motion in a rack, you have a box.
mm-hmm,
And then if you can do that, can you do a lunge where you go from
mm-hmm,
standing down to one knee and back up? And aside from being a great exercise unto itself, it really practically works on getting your ass up off the ground. Man, that
mm-hmm.
shit is hard. And you don't know how hard it is until you've lost that ability and try and work back to it.
Yeah. Y-
Um, really quickly, man, what are you doing for training right now? Because I remember when you were training jujitsu,
mm,
and then you were even when you were kicking my ass all over the kitchen in Spain. Um, you were telling me that, like, I'm worried about re-injury, and the next
Yeah,
time we hung out, you had already switched over to bands,
yeah,
which especially at the time you were a digital nomad,
yeah,
that's a really you cannot lug around like a full suitcase full of dumbbells, but you can bring resistance bands, man.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, what's training like for you now, right now?
Yeah, I'll say this. I know nomads who who specifically will look for Airbnbs near a gym, and they hit a heavy gym schedule. I know a ton that just kind of let their whole bodies go, which makes sense. I mean, you're bouncing around in a new country. You want to try the different foods. You may or may not really care too much about your physical health. Um, but in my case, yeah, I went with the resistance band. So I was searching online for different ways to like different exercise routines that don't
Mhm,
require you to go to a gym. And there's a couple of people I found, and I wish I remember their names. Um, One is he's a fitness influencer. It's like James something, but he's got his own
mhm,
uh brand of bands and exercises called Undersun. I did try a
mhm,
handful of bands, and his were by far the best quality Undersun bands. Um, and he had a handful of exercises that he put up, and a lot of it has to do with using a door anchor, which is
mhm,
essentially just a little like nylon pad that you could attach to any door, and like his videos are pretty good. You can be a little bit careful about it, make sure they attach them correctly, but you can hit a lot of different angles, and it was
mhm.
really good. I mean, if we're talking about doing nothing, this is 100 times better than doing nothing.
Oh
There's
yeah.
another guy who's I think he's quite well known. He goes by Atlian X, Jeff
Yep.
Cavalier, I want to say is his name. Yeah. So I mean, he has a ton of exercise videos. I just look specifically at the band ones, and I played around with that. So I had a little thing that I was doing where I was hitting my arms like by you could do like tricep pull downs really nicely with bands. You could attach you could like essentially attach the band to a door and do these sort of types of curls where your force is that way pulling you in. So
Like a
like
triceps kickback. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you could do that too. You could go right
Oh,
to
you're
left
talking
and do a
about
tricep kickback, or you could pull it in. Yeah, you could push
like
it
a
in
bent
depending
over
on the way
curl.
that you angle up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And there was a handful of things, and I can't remember all of them, but the big one, the one that I really focused my time and energy on was a pistol squat because it was my knees that kept getting hurt. And I think when I saw you in Spain, it might have been before or after, where at a training session which really messed up my knee, and like for 3 weeks I was not for like 2 days I had a lot of difficulty walking. I had a remote job at the time. I still have a remote job, but fortunately I didn't have to go anywhere, but I had to keep my legs straight the whole day.
Mhm,
But it was like numbed pain. It wasn't like a sharp pain, so I didn't go
mhm,
to a doctor. I was also in Spain, and my Spanish is not it's a lot worse than it used to be, and even
mhm,
before it was actually it was pretty decent. I got to be level Spanish, but it's fallen quite a bit now. But either way, I figured let me just give it a few days and see what happens. And it got a lot better. I got my mobility back, but I could not train on it. And after
yeah.
3 weeks, I was like, I could go back to the gym, but it's probably not a good idea. So I went back to the gym and I started training again.
Fuck yeah, man.
At this point, I was a blue belt, and I was like, fucking white belts. They're not even human beings. This pieces of trash. I'll fuck them up. It doesn't matter. I'll fuck them with my broken knee. And that works for a good handful of them. But there's always going to be like some white belts who are they just get it, and they're
Mhm,
really good right away. And so anyway, like I was able to start training again very lightly, and it was getting back, but it was never 100%. So I said, okay, let me just take a break. Let me just focus
mhm,
on strength training. That's when I was really hitting the bands. I was doing pistol squat, or I was building my way up to pistol
mhm,
squats. Uh, by the way, I will say like it took me a long time to get there. And the best thing I found, like I tried a ton of different ways to get there. The
mhm,
best thing I found, unquestionably, was to take two chairs, put them to the side, and then practice my pistol squats on one leg at a time, and then just like push myself up as I need it. Like of all the, I saw tons of videos, and just
mhm.
no, there's like one tiny little video that showed me this idea, but all the others they said just fall down on your butt. But every time I did that, I hurt my knee more because I didn't know
Yeah.
when to stop applying
Mm.
pressure. I didn't know like when to let my body fall. And so I ended up putting a lot more stress on my knees. So I found that to be a terrible idea. It just didn't work for my body. But the two
Yeah.
chairs that got me there, and like I could still I just tried it like a few days ago. I was able to do a pistol squat. I don't do them anymore. And they're quite challenging, but I will say like my knees are in so much better shape. Like I don't hurt. I also don't do any cardio. I don't run. So so like I haven't tested them, but they do not cause me problems in my day to day. And like to be honest with you, as we chatted about all this like sports stuff, I think I'm gonna stick with strength training.
Yeah.
For one, it feels a lot safer. I've gotten quite comfortable with it. And two, I'm not gonna lie, is like you look better and better with the muscles on, and I'm happy
I
to
was
do
gonna
that.
say,
It's the
you
narcissism
look,
in me.
fuck that, man. Die young and leave a pretty corpse. No one said die young and leave a bloated corpse. You do
Mm,
look good, man.
thank you,
Yeah.
man. I'm working on it.
I
I'm
should have
working on
started
it.
there. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I do wish more people would strength train, period. I think there's a lot of benefit from it that you may not realize otherwise. Not the least of which, stuff get swole, get jacked, baby.
Get swole.
Okay.
Get swole. Man, I've been getting more and more into this like longevity
Mhm.
concepts. You heard of Brian Johnson? Don't die.
No, who's Brian John? Talk to me about this.
All right, yeah, Brian Johnson is a. You might have heard some of the headlines on this guy. Like the first time I heard about this guy, it was a few years ago. He
Yeah.
was taking the platelets or plasmids, one or the other, out of his son and injecting them into himself. Does this
Oh,
sound familiar?
yeah,
This guy.
this dude. Holy shit.
So the first time I heard of this guy, it was stories
Okay.
like that, and I was like, "This guy's whack. This guy, something is going on." But I started looking at more and more of his stuff, and he's just an experimentalist, where he uses his own body for experiments. So
And his
I
son's
mean,
body for experiments. I mean, don't forget that part too, man. It's
if
like
there's
a
ever a
modern
reason,
vampire and shit.
if
Mhm.
there's ever a reason to have offspring, that's it. You need to be able to harvest your future cells. You
Okay,
remember
yeah.
BioShock? Do you remember the game
Yeah, I
BioShock?
do. I do. Fucking
So
ah. Mhm.
Ray is a great guy. Ray's a friend of ours. He's a
Mhm.
phenomenal person, just an amazing human being in every form and fashion. And Ray's got a dark sense of humor.
Mhm.
But even Ray, so there's this game BioShock, and in BioShock, you're running around. It's this whole dystopian like underground and ran combined with like a secret underground city. It's a ton of crazy stuff. But part of it is, and I don't quite remember the storyline, but there are these like there are these little girls that you find. Let's say they're 2 years old, and they're part
Mhm.
of like the big organization that was gonna like I forgot if I got it right. They were gonna genetically
Mhm.
manufacture like the next generation to be like y- amazing,
Super
like
powered.
Gattaca type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you as this like lone person you're sent on a mission. You don't really know why you're on that
Mhm.
mission. And that's part of the game. It's part of the mystery. And whenever you encounter these little girls, you have two options. You can either save them, and that will give you a boost in your like energy and the superpowers you control as your character, or or you can harvest them. And now they never actually specify what it means to harvest them, but when you press that X button to harvest instead of the circle button to save, you hear the kind of sounds that would really sicken anyone with a soul. And so Ray hears
Yeah.
this, our friend with the darkest sense of humor I've ever met, who's like, I can't do that. I gotta save these. I gotta save these pure innocent little girls. I cannot cause harm to them. And then you come along, Lee. You come along and you're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna
Yeah, no,
harvest every single cell I can get. My character's gonna
you
be a
gotta
super
know.
power beast. And it's true. By the time you finish the game, you're like Ray and I were watching you play, and you literally just walk through like an army of these like dead splicers, they call it. And you just walk
Splicers,
right
yeah,
through them.
man.
They can't hurt you. You toss all your super special powers, and you're completely unstoppable. And just Ray and I are like, what are we doing? We can't even watch this.
Just
But
don't
yeah,
watch that bit, man. Mhm.
harvesting cells, harvesting cells.
So this guy's
I guess you could do
harvesting
that.
his son.
So he's harvesting his son. Now, okay, I got a lot of respect for Brian Johnson. He's essentially
Okay.
open sourcing all the experiments that he's doing. I mean, the guy is like he made a lot of money in tech. I think like
Mm-hmm.
let's say an order of billions or something. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, well, what am I going to do in my life? And he said, well, I'm just not going to die. And so he's been experimenting quite heavily at the forefront of science and biology and trying
Mm-hmm.
different things, like everything from cleaning up supplements to cleaning up his food sources, to growing his own food with like no pesticides or anything, so he can control
Mm-hmm.
the full flow, like testing every single food he has so he knows what's in it, and testing himself like multiple times a day for biomarkers and trying to get a sense of like, okay, what actually has an effect. Because as well
Mm-hmm.
as I do, that one of the trickiest things with biology and nutrition and medicine is that our bodies are different, man.
Mm-hmm.
We're all human, but our bodies just react differently. Like a cure for me is not a cure
Mm-hmm.
for you, and that can be said of 100 different things. Like how many going back to athletes, how many people do you like? How many people were known to be heavy chain smokers and still, lived until they're 95 and operating at the top of the game, right? But most people, or a lot of people, if they were a heavy chain smoker,
Mm-hmm.
they would not get nearly to that level. Their lungs would give out after a few feet. For me, I could do like a 10-meter sprint and I'm gone and I don't smoke.
Mm-hmm. Think about 10 year sprint, man. Sprinting is just crazy. Um, Sorry, where were we going with this? Brian
Oh,
Johnson
longevity. I want to talk
experimenting
about
longevity.
longevity. Yeah,
Yeah.
so like almost every longevity study I've come to understand and
Mm,
is strength training is just super important. If you want to live to 100 or 150 or never die, you gotta hit them weights.
I One last thing, and then we're gonna come back to strength training. Dude, how is this guy not a vampire? He is like ridiculously wealthy. He sucks the blood off of his son with the intention to never fucking die while conducting weird ass health experiments.
You
That's
should see his.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, the first headline I mentioned, they showed a before and after picture of this guy, and like he clearly looked in better shape, but he also looked extremely pale. And so like, yeah, the first thought is, who is this? Who is this vampire? Yeah.
Do you like, you know, is he going through the food that he's growing and he gets to the garlic like
I would
at
love
what
to
price do you have immortality, man?
I would love to talk to him. He's a character. But yeah, who knows, man? Maybe this guy's been alive for like 8,000 years, and he's just fucking with us now.
And now that
He's just like,
he's got
hey,
a
these,
sweet tech money, I can live in the
yeah,
sun.
yeah. He's got that sun money.
Oh, this fucking guy. Um, no, everyone, you should be physically active, and strength training helps in a lot of ways. But something
Oh
aside from
man.
longevity is the quality, man.
Hmm.
Um, Holy cow.
Yeah,
Age
yeah.
60 looks very different for a whole lot of people. Age
Mm,
70, that only gets exponentially different. Um, Strength training, if not for just longevity, but the quality you have when you get there is massive. So,
hmm.
yeah, man,
Yeah,
get yourself under a bar.
yeah. A lot of people I've spoken to would say like, why do you want to live forever? Because you're gonna be in terrible, you're gonna be miserable. But that goes back to like it's if you don't take care of yourself. If you do take care of yourself, there's some really amazing like a lot of people. There's story after story of someone who's 70 or 80 who takes very good care of themselves and have
Hmm.
like an active and mobile life. So
Hmm.
it's certainly not out of the question.
No,
It's difficult, but it's not
there's,
out of the question.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and even not everyone is built the same. Some people are
Hmm.
not going to make it to 60. Some people are
Hmm.
not going to make it to 50.
Yeah.
But how you get there is a very important question.
Hmm.
So I guess that's my thing. Go train. Mhm.
Lee, I want to talk to you about nutrition because I remember way back at an undergrad, um,
Oh shit, yeah. Mhm.
you took I thought was one of the most interesting courses, which I was shocked to find out is actually not a prereq for medicine. or
Mm.
like anyone who wants to go to medicine, is nutrition. Nutrition was probably the coolest class that you it was so interesting. I was learning nutrition from you for like a week, and then I got
I don't remember this. I will be
oh
honest.
man, you had to log what you were eating.
It might have just been a side project of mine,
Maybe you
but it
didn't
was
take the
pretty
course
gross.
either. Maybe you were like me. Maybe it was a friend of ours that took it.
It might
Does
have
this
been. It
course
might have
even
been.
sound familiar to you? Like you
It
track
doesn't
what you
sound
eat, you
familiar
go
to
through
me
it. Okay.
because if I did, it would be really just heinous, heinous shit. Um, Unspeakable horror. You remember we used to get microwavable like personal pizzas? I used to fold like a personal pizza in half and eat it like a taco so that I didn't have to like be bothered by cutting it up because that was like a serving size for three, and
Yeah.
I ate one by myself with a six pack of beer. It is just
Those were the days.
God,
Did you and I don't mean this, I don't know if I'm using this word correctly,
please,
facetiously. I don't mean this facetiously, but
facetiously.
facetiously. Did you remove the wrapper? Because I don't think I did. I mean, this is before microplastics. These are macroplastics.
Well, hey man, sometimes you're really hungry, a little bit tipsy,
Well,
you
it's not
know,
obvious,
get in your
man. I
body.
mean, we have to remember this was like in the tens. It was not obvious. It was not obvious that plastic is inert. It doesn't hurt anybody. Cars run out of it. Run on it.
Mm,
If a car
mm.
is able to go like 0 to 60 in a few seconds, imagine what it does for a human if you put that kind of oil in your body.
Hell yeah, man.
You hit
Dude,
nitro. You hit
what's that?
nitro.
We get garlic bread from Safeway and it comes in a little paper bag with a plastic thing on it. It says put it right in the oven. Don't even take it out. Cook the plastic into the bread. And I do it because some scientist has figured out, this is how you're supposed to cook the bread. So I do it. I'm pretty sure that's not how you're supposed to make garlic bread, but I've got that little plastic bits inside of me now. Ah, yeah.
If the food scientist says this is it, who are we to argue with them?
Agreed. That's
But
their job, man.
I I will say my diet has oh, I don't know if I told you this. I don't even know if anyone who's listening knows this. I moved to Austin. I think I told you I'm going to. I actually did it. This is my
Yeah, man.
bedroom.
I know you said you were talking about it. I was going to ask about the apartment.
Yeah.
What's good, man?
It's good to be honest. I've been super busy with things, but I did go to what is the local fast food burrito shop. It's this place called Torchy's.
Okay.
They've got some I've pretty much just the only things I've been doing is checking out the breakfast burrito shops
Mm.
and the brisket shops. And
Oh, yeah.
I'm yeah. This is what I found. There's a quality range. I mean there always is. But like
Mm.
it's there's the quality range is a little bit frustrating because I've gone to some of the popular spots and it's like it didn't hit. But then I've gone to Torchy's, which is actually the cheapest place I've been to, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's the best breakfast burrito I've ever had. And like the comparison to California is just different food. It's like Tex-Mex
Mm.
versus Mexicali, and like the two can
Mm.
live in cohesion side by side, and that makes me happy because I had the feeling I would have to choose between one or the other, and I don't have to. Like I can have a California burrito to round out a breakfast burrito to start my day, and there's no reason, and there's no judgment, and there's the only limitation is that I don't have a private jet to fly me back and forth. But hey, look, when Bitcoin
Not
hits 2
yet.
million.
Just
Yeah.
remember us on the ground, man. Okay.
Oh yeah. I'll buy like boxes of breakfast burritos and California burritos and just like parachute them from the sky. Everybody deserves these.
See, this is what we need. Is we need a class of billionaires that will happily spend all of it in the dumbest fucking way you could possibly imagine and recirculate that shit back into the economy while bringing a little bit of what is that, joy, maybe a little silliness, a little bit of weirdness back into life.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah.
So I really do hope that Bitcoin goes to 2 million and you ride that wave all the way, baby.
Yeah. This would be like I'm thinking like this would be like a Willy Wonka type of thing, right? I'm trying to think about what is the most eccentric thing like an
Mm.
absolute crazy billionaire has done and just like giving it back to the people in a way where it's like just hilarious, but also kind of cool. It's like, oh yeah, breakfast burritos for all. That's a good idea. That is a
I
good
think that'd be a
idea.
great start, man.
Yeah.
Because the impact it would have on the economy would be fantastic. Because those burritos don't appear out of nowhere.
Mm.
You got to hire someone to make them. You got to source the potatoes and the fucking meat and everything. Yeah, man, get that shit out there. Save our economy, Hussein. You know what to do.
I'll do the best I can. I'll do the best I can. This is number one priority. Everything else
Yeah.
can wait. Everything else can wait. But Bitcoin for burritos, that's what I'll call it. Bitcoin for burritos.
Yo, holla, and then everyone
Bitcoin for
can make a
burritos.
Bitcoin donation on this website.
Donate
Keep
donate
people
a
posted.
Bitcoin to me and I'll get a burrito out to your community. Maybe 4 or 5.
There we go. And then,
Yeah.
like, as you clear different stages at the 1 million stage mark, I'll come to your town and I will
Yeah.
airdrop several dozen burritos. By the time you get to the 1
Yeah.
billion stage, it's starting to get to entire cities. I
Yeah.
got you, man.
Oh man, you know what? You have this really good taco truck next to you. And when I was visiting you, I think I ate there like every other day. And
Tacos a la lense. Yeah, man.
oh man, that was I was going back and forth between there and I think Ike's. Is it Ike's sandwiches?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ike's is good. Ike's is good, but it doesn't beat the taco stand at all. You know the best
Taco stand is
tacos we've ever
special.
had? The best
What's that?
Mexican food I've had in my entire life. It was when we went to the Classics West concert with
Rick
Freddie
and
Mac,
Ray.
Journey, Rick and
Yeah,
Ray.
yeah.
Yeah. That was by far it was just so good. I don't even know how it was so good. I don't even know who found it. It looked like it was the only food truck in like a 5 mile
Miles.
radius. Just
Yeah.
I think it was outside of like someone's home. It was like a residential area as I
Yeah.
remember, and
Yeah, it
it was
was because
so
that's where the Airbnb was. Yeah.
yeah, and it was so delicious. It
So
was
fucking good.
really some of the best. I mean, I like Mexico. I've been to Mexico like 3 times, and I've not found food as good as that taco truck, man. That LA taco truck in the middle of some like outside of some dude's garage at like 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. as soon as we came out of the concert, walking home.
Oh yeah, man, that was
I don't
perfect.
know who found. I think that's a Rick thing to find. I feel like if anyone knew how to find that, that would have been Rick.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Okay.
delicious. It's absolutely delicious.
Fuck, that was great.
I've got other
Uh,
news that I want. Go ahead.
please. I want
All
the
right.
news. I was going to ask more about Austin, but I want news.
Well, this is about Austin, so we're all on the same page. You need a car to get around, and
Yeah.
you remember I told you. I said there's a very specific car that I want to get, and so I went through the whole process of trying to find one that I like. I haven't owned a car in a long time, so I hired inspectors to look at them for me at the
Mhm.
dealers and come back with reports, and I found one I was very happy with. I think you can guess what it is.
Oh my God. First off, it's probably manual transmission. I think you were talking about
Yeah.
drop top. Was it a Mazda Miata?
I was
No,
going back and forth between Miata and a Mustang. Um,
Mustang.
and I actually couldn't find a good convertible. Like the prices just started getting too high. So it was either manual or convertible. There wasn't too many that had both. And I figured, okay, which one do I want more? So I went with the manual, and I'm actually glad because the problem with the convertible I realized is I would never fucking use it. Like it's just such a pain. You bring it down, you can't hear anything. It's actually really loud in your ears. It like covers your eyes. You have to be careful of like wind and grains of sand getting into your eye. It's actually not, if you have anything in the car, it can like fly out at any given moment. So I can see why convertibles are not actually popular much anymore. And this is how I
I would.
console myself. But the manual, I just got it like a
Mhm.
week and a half ago, and Lee, I stalled the fuck out of that car. I
Hell
stalled
yeah,
the
man.
fuck out of that car. I
Mm.
cannot tell. I stalled on it, brother. I stalled on a speed bump. I could not get over a fucking speed bump. You know what it's like when you're like you're presented with this amazing opportunity in life and you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. There's absolutely zero downsides to this new endeavor. And then you come across a speed bump and it's like you hit a fucking brick wall and it's a speed bump that's like 2 inches high. I stalled on it. I stalled on it on my front tires. I got over it. I stalled on it on my back tires and I stalled again as I turned on the car.
Oh, that's beautiful, baby.
Stalled on it on every single way. It was a terrible experience. That first day sucked. That second day felt just as bad as that first day. And now it's been a week, and actually I kind of like it a little bit. Not completely, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's like, okay, I
It
can see why.
takes,
I can see why.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Um, I appreciate the fearlessness, man. You gotta be willing to just eat shit a lot.
Yeah.
Um, dude, you're gonna have so much fun with that.
I'm excited.
It's a Mustang.
It's a Mustang. Yeah, yeah. It's a like an
Details,
8-year-old Mustang. It's an EcoBoost. Which means that
EcoBoost.
this isn't a crazy like the GT is a crazy one. It's one with a lot
Mhm.
of power. I realized I don't one thing I realized about a sports car is that well, at first it was very bumpy, and I didn't know if it was because I was fucking up the transmission and the gears, or if it was just the
Mhm.
car or the engine or something else was wrong. And it turns out, no, that's yeah, I am like my shifts aren't great yet. It's getting there, but sports cars don't have a lot of give in their suspension. Like they're actually quite stiff, and they're designed that way. I didn't realize that, and I was happy to learn that because as I was hitting cracks, I was like, "Is something wrong with the car?" And you're like, "Oh no, it's actually just it's how cars are designed. I mean, it's more made for track and that kind of stuff." So it's like it's a different style of driving than I've ever done. But it doesn't matter because I saw Fast and the Furious as a kid, and that kid is living well, you know. So
Oh man, do you remember
like,
Tokyo Drift, which is apparently not canonical? It's like a weird side timeline.
oh,
I
but it's
remember
family,
he,
brother. How are they not family? Wait, you're saying Tokyo doesn't get family in it?
yeah, apparently Hans is real, but Vin Diesel's not there, so it's not real.
Uh,
I got all sorts of stuff, man.
that's a shame. That's a
I
shame.
got friends. I got family.
They got
You got a
family.
big ass family, man. You guys got to be
It's a
on
big
like some
family.
serious, weird incestuous terms here. Mm.
Yeah, that's true.
It gets pretty big, pretty weird. I'm really glad. I'm excited for this. And as far as power goes, power is fun, but if you really want to figure them out, I think you got so much to milk
Yeah,
that I don't know how to do out of just understanding how the car accelerates, decelerates, and turns with a nice
yeah,
stiff suspension. Oh man, you're gonna have a
yeah.
blast.
Yeah. Brother, when you come down to Austin, you're gonna get this thing a ride. I remember you had a stick. I think it was a BM. Do you want to get
I had
into
a
it or
Z3, man.
Z3? Yeah,
I opted for the drop top and
yeah.
the manual transmission at a time
Ah,
when
you had
cars were
both.
not so expensive you had to give up an arm and a leg. And the exchange was that most of it was glued together. Not, by the way, hyperbole. You're like, oh man, my car's so bad it felt like it was glued together. Mine actually was.
Are we talking
And some
Elmer's or crazy?
I'm talking hot. Someone had So, like a week after getting this, someone finally got in the
Yeah.
passenger seat. I didn't notice this when I bought the car, but the guy who took me out said, "Oh, isn't that great?" And he never actually used the handle. Someone finally got in the passenger seat, pulled the handle, and the handle came off. It had been hot glued back to the door. I had a friend who had like driven manual once, and he tried shifting, and the
Yeah.
linkages are shot to hell, man. You got to like really know this car to figure out how to get from first to second. He tried
Yeah.
forcing it to second. The shifter came off in his hand. This is a little nub where the thing attaches. You know why? Because that
Oh
thing had been
man.
hot glued together. So like, if you shift too hard on these rusty ass linkages, um, the shifter pops off, and you just got this thing. You're trying to like operate it with your fingers like this, and the linkages are fighting you the whole way. You got to go to get to second. You have to go first to third, then back to second. That's how stiff that shit
How do
was.
you how do you get it back?
Until I
How do you,
could
when it was just like jamming that, we're just stabbing the gear shifter to like connect.
no, you had to like pinch that little shit like this. You had to
Oh man.
like you had to be delicate. Just got third and then back to second, and then you could freely go back to first. You can downshift just fine, which is
Yeah.
the stupidest thing. But shift first to second.
Oh.
So that's the way it was
um,
until I could do the only thing I knew was hot glue the thing back on, man.
how did it work though?
Uh, Oh man, it was great. It was so
Did
much
the
fun.
yeah. Dude, I'm just trying to imagine this guy just like you said it was his first time driving a stick and he did this?
Yeah,
When he pulled it off?
I took a friend out,
Yeah.
and he had driven stick like at some point before in his life,
Yeah.
and it is his first time in a while. He had the usual thing. If you've never driven a manual transmission, right? You have that experience, I
Mm,
have that experience, but maybe if you haven't, the first thing that you first off will do, but also should do,
mm,
is just sit there, slowly let off the clutch,
mm,
and find out where that ride point is before the car stalls, and then the car will stall.
mhm.
And then, and that goes for every new car that's manual transmission that you've never been in before. Or you throw it in first and like stomp the gas, release the clutch, and then the car will fucking
Boom, 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 boom,
try to
boom.
kill itself halfway through there. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what he did.
That's
And
fair.
then
I
I
still
saw
do
him.
that. Yeah.
Okay, no, it's just it happens, right?
Yeah.
Because you know
But
you're
but
expecting it to go to first. You got to let it ride. You got to figure out where
yeah.
that sweet spot is. He didn't find where that sweet spot was. He got the car going. The revs hit like 6, 7. Like it's a BMW. It can go up pretty far, but like it's red zoning.
Yeah.
Like, okay, man, you got to shift a second. I'm trying. I'm trying. And he tried so hard, he ripped that sucker right the fuck off, which is not entirely his fault because again, the linkages were rusty as fuck. I don't know how they legally let this on the road. And the shifter comes off on his hand. He's looking at me. I'm looking at him. We're both looking at the shifter and where it used to be. And so, like, we got to grab it by the base like this. And then, like, the other hand's like this. And I'm trying to shift it into third so they can go back to second so we can pull off to the side of the road because why would you start in a parking lot? Fucking. I'm amazed that the car didn't die and we didn't die.
I mean, this is just so traumatizing. Can you I mean like I'm just trying to imagine this thing happening where the guy is just he's like, "Okay, I am in first. The car isn't broken down yet. Clearly the engine is like sounding like it's going to blow up or something. Something is not right." And you just pull his thing off and you're staring at it. You're like, we what else can we do at
That's
this point? This
no,
is
yeah,
this
because
is
that's
the
not
end.
supposed to
This is the
happen.
end. Yeah. Oh
So
man.
So I'm glad that your car, hopefully, is not hot glued back together. I'm glad that you made the choice. You didn't realize you said that you can either get manual transmission or you can get a convertible. There's a third rung you haven't thought about, which is just baseline decency and quality, and you just took it for granted. I did not, and I chose convertible and manual, and I said, "Fuck it. Who needs like a
This
normal
is
car
this
that
is
won't fall to pieces in your hands?"
this is why I love you, Lee. You, sir, are an adventurer, and you somehow survive through it all every time
So far,
so far.
so far,
Wow.
it's pretty
I
good,
I
man.
wish I had asked you to teach me how to drive. That manual. That would have been a good idea because right now YouTube is my teacher. And it's effective, but there's a few things that worked in my favor. But definitely, I don't think I spent enough time out there in California.
That's part of it. You always come out to us, man. So I always appreciated that. The trouble is
Yeah.
the last few times I had already gotten rid of I'd like to say sold. I got rid of the BMW because that thing was falling to pieces.
Mm,
Um
it's time to go.
man, it's time to go. I have great confidence that you'll work this out, but it is better with someone in person.
Hmm.
Because that's how I learned is on a friend's car. And
Yeah.
it would have
Yeah,
been
it's
nice to pass it on. Mhm.
yeah. It's one of those things. It is I mean, YouTube is amazing. Like it's just there's so much tutorials and things you can learn from there. But it's still one of those things that's like experience driven.
Yeah.
you got to try a lot of things. You just need to try it in a way that's safe. That's the biggest thing is like how do you do all this in a way that's safe? Yeah.
Don't start on a live road. That's a big one. That was fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. That's
um,
what is that phrase where You throw someone in the deep end. That's what it is. You throw someone in the deep
Mm-hmm.
end. There are times to throw someone in the deep. Well, actually, if you think about it, throwing someone in the deep end is risking their lives to drowning. Whereas if you throw someone in the deep end by driving on a live road, it's you're taking down a community. So if you think about it, it's more impactful at least.
Oh man.
But
Yeah.
you can start on a slow road, like a residential road. But even then, it's just it's definitely scary because at least a slow speed. So I don't know, man. I mean, you didn't start on the highway, did you?
No, I did not. But you eventually have to hit the roads at some
Yeah.
point. And I definitely remember being at the base of Ignacio Valley, which is a hill, right?
Mm.
And I'm looking up here and
Mm.
I'm on the hill and I shift to first and there's a giant fucking semi truck right on my ass. And if the pressure gets, so of course I fucking stall. Light turns green and I fucking stall. And I knew how to do it. I knew everything
Yeah.
about it. And
Yeah.
the guy behind me was fucking pissed.
Oh yeah.
I took away so many seconds of his life. It was so hard for him. While I put the
till
clutch back
this
down,
day, till this
he
day,
just
he is cursing that Z3 that stopped him on an uphill
just
back in the
horrible.
day. Oh man. Yeah, it is
That's
a tricky thing. I think
mm,
so. So the way they teach it, I did this in a parking lot to practice it. Is you get your clutch in, you
mm,
go to first, you open up your parking brake, or
mm,
you activate your parking brake. You bring your foot up to the bite point until you could
mm.
feel it. You start your foot on the gas. You're still on the parking brake, but your car is ready to go. You know, and then when it's time to go, you drop the parking brake and you take off. Does that sound right to you?
Huh. I would not do the parking brake, man.
Okay.
I personally would not.
Okay.
I also have much more tolerance for stalling the car out. It's
Mm,
not a great feeling. It's a little rough on the suspension if you're doing this all the time, but the car is designed to stall.
mm,
If it didn't, it would grind itself to pieces. It's part of the engineering to stall.
mm,
But the general idea is there, which is I would have started with just foot on the brake,
mhm,
put it in first,
mhm,
and your left foot depresses the clutch so it's not
mhm,
engaged. Slowly take your foot off the brake because you're on a nice flat surface. So now you're in neutral because you've got the clutch pressed down, you're in first. Okay. Then you just let it off. You'll feel the
mhm,
bite point. The car will start rolling forwards. And then you just keep letting it go
mhm,
until eventually the car will get past the bite point and it will stall.
mm. I mean
Because
on a
as
hill. The parking brake thing was just on a hill, like not for a flat.
on a hill.
On a hill. Yeah, yeah.
No, I disagree with that, and I might be in the minority here.
Okay. I don't
Um,
know. I'm new to this. All I know is what my YouTube mentors have taught me.
that so this is the
They've
thing
kept the
with the
distance from me. They don't respond to my emails.
they're so rude, man. Okay, your biggest fan. Come on, I liked your video. I followed and subscribed.
Followed and subscribe.
Was it like, commented, and subscribed? Can
I
I get a little
even
love?
comment. Yeah. Share. You got to share too. So okay, this is a list actually. Like, share, comment, subscribe,
Okay,
repost,
firstborn, sign here,
firstborn.
repost.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus, man. It's a little off-putting. I'm betting there's actual YouTube training camps where they
Mm,
they teach you like you're supposed to say, make sure you tell people to like, comment, repost, subscribe, and do all that shit. A little off-putting to me,
yeah. Same
but
here.
that's me. I understand. Who knows? People are making livings. Blah 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 blah. I'm just a
I
leech who's watching your shit. Mhm.
Yeah, I will say I don't think I've ever subscribed or liked a video because at the end of the video it said like or subscribe. I don't know. Maybe it works for some folks, and I do get the appeal for it. I'll take it back. If somebody is like they don't have much of a following, I used to do this. I don't do this anymore. I used to sign up for Patreons. And I would say, oh, okay, this is someone who's not making much, but I like what their stuff. They're doing like they're doing like a comic that they post every week on their
Sure.
side. So it's like, yeah, I want to keep that going. That's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I can't really consciously remember a time someone said like this at the end of a video, and I thought now's the
Oh,
time. You know, if you tell me,
by the way, if you're watching this video, do remember to like. comment and okay, I'm done.
See, no, that's cool because I didn't say it. You can you can hawk for me. That's cool. There's no shame on that.
That was meta
But
as
hey,
fuck. Yeah, baby, I got you.
yeah, man. What else
Last
do I
bit on
got
the
here?
the hill thing. If you
Yeah,
engage the parking brake, you lose contact with the car. You don't know where your car is going to be when you let it go. I would say do the same thing, but put the gas in. You won't have a brake light, so be careful. People can't see
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But your car should have forward thrust enough to keep it neutral, right? You burn a little gas, but that way, when the light turns green, you just smoothly accelerate forwards.
So I speak about the parking brake method, but when I came on an actual hill, I think I've hit 3 hills now, and I stalled on. I've actually never stalled on a hill. I've stalled a ton of times, but never on a hill. I think it's because I've been like super like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? But the way I did it was, first is like I'm anticipating the green light, so I don't want to piss anyone off. So I did. I think a lot closer to what you said, which is the first thing I did is my foot is still on the brake. I got the brake light on in the back, and I bring up the clutch where I can feel the bite point, so I can feel the car is like, oh, it's catching, but I don't do anything. I just can feel like it's just at the start of the catch. And then when so these newer cars, mine is a 2019. These
Okay.
newer cars have something called hill assist, and what hill assist is that it holds the brake for you for like 2 seconds.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty
So
clever.
yeah. So I hold the clutch anyway, right at the bite point, and then I let go of the brake, and then I start hitting the gas, and then I'm waiting to feel that this thing is catching. And
Hmm.
so I think you have to hit a little bit more, or at least me, beginner, I put probably a little bit more gas than I need, but I think more is better than less, as long as the car in front of you takes off. And then I slowly let out the clutch, and I did a couple of times, and it worked out. But I'm still like, it's not smooth. It's not smooth, but it's not jerky. It's just slow, is what it is.
That sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
All these
beautiful, man.
things, all these things are making our lives easier. Like, can you imagine what it's like driving a car in like 60s or 50s or
Before
40s?
before the invention of the clutch, man,
Oh, that's
um,
right.
that people used to double clutch, and before the double clutch, you just had to fucking match gears, man. You had to
Mm,
just perfectly match the revs. My friend's stepfather, used to work on cars, and he can actually do that. Had a clutch burn completely out and managed to drive it
mm.
successfully, stoplights, everything, to the mechanic just by matching revs and gears. I don't know how that car didn't tear itself to pieces, but
What a
it can be
skill.
done.
What a skill.
God. Okay. So, anyways, go have fun with it. You're kicking ass and taking
Yeah.
names, man.
No, it's a good one. I won't say it's fun yet, but talk to me by the end of the month, and I think it will be. Like it's all right. Like I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it, but it's still like there's that mental cognition. Like it's
Mhm.
mental effort to make it happen. Once it's natural, once it feels like okay, I got to feel with the car. Then I think I'll hit that point that you were at. Well, let me ask you this:
Mhm.
if you were to buy a car again, would you go back to manual?
Yes. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
Yeah. All
long
right.
as
All right.
it's
All right.
not part of something that I have to daily commute a long distance,
Yeah.
stop and go traffic would suck.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
man. And you're in
Hmm.
California, which I think hits hard. Like they say Austin is bad, but I'm fortunate. I don't need to drive during the week. Like
Hmm.
whatever week drive I do is really close and it's I don't have to hit the highway, but I don't have to deal with traffic fortunately. But I think yeah, that would take away a lot of the well it's a lot more mentally engaging to like keep the
Yeah.
the gears in the right spot. And
Who
then just
knows?
going back and
Mm.
forth.
Maybe that's not a bad thing. So I guess my answer is yes. The one thing I will brag on is
Mm,
that in the Bay Area, we have the one, man. You can go up and down
mm,
the coast highway, and that's a lot of fun, especially in a convertible, and doubly so in a manual transmission. A little nerve-wracking at first, for sure.
mhm,
We've got like the back roads up to the North Bay. We've got the roads out to the mountains in the east, and
mm.
out in the south in San Jose. nobody cares. You just do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So, you got that too if you're not stuck in traffic.
There are a couple things you have to do to perfect that ride. One is you gotta be listening to the Eagles. There's maybe Red Hot Chili Peppers, but that's about it, you know? You gotta be listening to those 2 bands, and you gotta stop by for an In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah, I cannot wait
Yeah,
for you to be back out here, man. Or we
yeah.
got to come find you in Austin, either way.
Either way,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. I would love that. That would be a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hussein, man, I think this is about the time I got to call it.
yeah.
So thank you so much for having me on.
Brother, it's a pleasure. I can't wait for the next round. I hope all is well with you. And dude, I appreciate you jumping on and sharing some of your wisdom and honestly just hanging out, dude. It's great to see you.
Mostly that, although I'm excited to see what you have launching, man. This is a really cool setup.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. All right, look, I'm gonna stop the recording, but stick around for a second.
for sure.
Cheers all.